Hey everyone, Lewis aka Spider-Man 991 here to talk about my top 5 favorite Batman animated films. Now, I made this list the week before Killing Joke came out, so it's not on the list, which, thinking about it, probably wouldn't be on here. Top 10 maybe, but not 5. 5, that's my opinion. But anyways, these are my top 5 my list of top 5 animated Batman films from number 5 all the way to number 1. Let's get started. Number 5, Batman SubZero. One of the things that I loved about the animated series was its portrayal of Mr. Freeze, and the movie SubZero serves as a perfect ending to this character's arc. Yes, I know Mr. Freeze did return in the soft rebooted animated series that included Tim Drake, and he also appeared in Batman Beyond, but honestly, they could have just ended. Honestly, this pretty much is a perfect conclusion to the original arc started in Mr. Freeze's first animated appearance in Heart of Ice, and I really think they could have ended it here and not bring Mr. Freeze back at all, and that would have been perfect. The basic plot of SubZero is that when Mr. Freeze is living in the Arctic, unfortunately when his base is damaged, his wife's cryo chamber is damaged, and the only way he can save her and keep her alive now is with a full heart transplant. So he goes to Gotham to to first kidnap a colleague of his that could help him perform the surgery, and also to find a donor who matches Nora's blood type, but her blood type is rare, and the only person that they can use is Barbara Gordon. So naturally, when you kidnap Barbara Gordon, you don't just get Commissioner of Gotham City, you get Batman and Robin on your ass too. So, so it's up to Batman and Robin to save her. And at the end of the movie, we find out that Nora was able to, thanks to help from Wayne Enterprises, Nora was able to make a full recovery, and Mr. Freeze was missing by the end of the movie. But Mr. Freeze hears about this, and even though he knows he could probably never return to Gotham, he's happy that his wife is alive. And that's basically the movie. Yeah, and an interesting fact is that this SubZero is actually made around the same time as the live-action movie Batman Robin. But due to Batman Robin's negative reviews, Warner Brothers held off on releasing this. And when it finally came time, and when Warner Brothers finally did decide to release it with a direct-to-video release, everyone loved SubZero. I mean, really, when you think about it, an animated movie did something that a live-action movie could not. It had Batman, Robin, and Batgirl, and Mr. Freeze, and this was definitely far superior than the live-action version. I think that's very impressive, and that, plus my love of the animated series, is why this is number 5 on my list. Number 4 is Year One. This is an animated adaptation of the comic book story arc of the same name, written by Frank Miller with art by David Mazzucchelli. I'm saying the last name right, Mazzucchelli, and and the reason this is on my list is because it is a very straightforward adaptation, not just in dialogue where we hear Frank Miller's almost exact words written from the comic onto the heard by the actors in the movie, but also because of the actual animation itself. It really looks it's very similar to Mazzucchelli's artwork that looks like the exact comic was pretty much plastered onto the screen and given new life, which is very nice. And Year One is also one of the best Batman stories ever written. It's not just an origin story it's not just a Year One story for Batman as well. For Batman, it's also Year One for Commissioner Gordon too, because at the beginning of the movie, we see Bruce Wayne returning from his training all across the world back to Gotham City, just as future Commissioner, currently Lieutenant James Gordon, arrives in Gotham after a transfer from Chicago to start a new life in a very terrible city with his pregnant wife. And also, I love the voice casting choices in this movie. First of all, Eliza Dushku as Catwoman, Ben McKenzie as Batman, who, by the way, currently plays Commissioner Gordon on Gotham. Not going to say any more about that. But Bryan Cranston as Jim Gordon, who I think was probably my favorite casting choice of this entire movie. It was very great. Year One is one of my favorite Batman stories, and this movie really does justice. Number 3 is Batman Under the Red Hood. The author of the original Under the Hood comic book story arc also wrote the screenplay for this movie, Judd Winnick. And I like this version better than the comic, because in the comic book, the reason Jason comes back to life is because of Superboy Prime punching reality that allowed him to come back. And the series also relies on a number of tie-ins to the DC event known as Infinite Crisis to help keep the story moving. The movie, on the other hand, is very self-contained to the Batman universe, rather than having an evil Superboy punch reality to bring Jason back to life. In this version, it's Ra's al Ghul who brings him back to life after Ra's made a deal with the Joker to distract Batman while he worked on some other plan, and it resulted in Robin's death. So Ra's, out of guilt, decided not to wage any war on Batman and tried to bring Jason back through the Lazarus Pit. That is actually, I think, a way better explanation than the whole Infinite Crisis tie-in. So, really, this actually taking the comic books, the pretty much similar frame story from basic plot of the comic book story arc, which is Jason Todd comes back to life and wants revenge on Batman and the Joker, and doing it way better than the original source material is really awesome. I love that. And I also like and again, voice casting for this movie is excellent. I want to point out, first of all, Batman, this movie is voiced by Bruce Greenwood, who you may know in the new Star Trek movies as Commander Pike, and he was also the voice of Batman on Young Justice. And if I had to be honest, I think Bruce Greenwood is probably my second favorite Batman voice actor. And also, Red Hood is voiced by Supernatural's Jensen Ackles, who I think is very appropriate. If you've seen Supernatural and you've seen Jensen play Dean Winchester, then it's a pretty easy transition for him to go from Dean to Jason Todd. So those are the reasons why I think Under the Red Hood is number 3 on my list. Alright, number 2, aka the silver medal, is Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. This is another animated adaptation of Frank Miller's Batman story. Obviously, Dark Knight Returns. I like this a lot because of the level they went into adapting this story. Pretty much, I would say, the level that they went in adapting Year One went to this one as well, and that's understandable because Dark Knight Returns is one of the most popular Batman story arcs. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was very influential in creating the animated series, Batman v Superman, the Dark Knight trilogy. So a lot of the modern Batman stuff we have today is because of this story arc. And naturally, when it came time to adapt this for an animated movie, I would say that the animators took great care in trying to get as much as they could onto the screen. So much that they actually had to originally split this movie up into 2 parts in terms of an animated movie. I mean, eventually though, they did decide to release one single cut, which you can see right here, which the total runtime of the movie is about 2.5 hours, which isn't really too bad for a standard live action movie, but I think in terms of an animated movie, that's considered a little long. But it's still really awesome. I really like seeing this, and it does have, and like all my other picks, it does have an excellent voice cast choice. You got Peter Weller, aka RoboCop, voicing Batman. Ariel Winter from Modern Family is voicing Carrie Kelly, the new Robin, and Michael Emerson is voicing the Joker. And believe me, his Joker gave me some chills. And like I said earlier, this did adapt a lot of Frank Miller's dialogue from the comic into this, which is very nice. I like it when they do that. So overall, this is really my second favorite Batman movie. Okay, it's time to reveal my number 1 favorite animated Batman movie, and here it is, Mask of the Phantasm. Alright, like I said earlier in this video when I was talking about SubZero, I do love the animated series, and I think this was, and aside from a few scenes in this movie which pay homage to the story arc Year One, this story is pretty original. My favorite part of the entire movie was we do get to see a sort of Year One story told for the animated version of Batman, which is nice. And it showed us that right when Bruce was like in the middle of, when he just got back to Gotham and was starting to take the streets before he became Batman officially, and still trying to figure out how he could strike fear of criminals, he met a young woman by the name of Andrea Beaumont. And, no, Andrea Beaumont, sorry. And he fell in love with her. And there was this really great internal struggle for Bruce where he wanted to stick to his plan. He wanted to honor the vow that he made to his parents that he would make criminals suffer and protect the innocent. But he just couldn't do that anymore, knowing that he was in love with this woman and that he wanted to marry her. And there's a really beautiful scene where Bruce is at his parents' grave. He's begging to be released from his vow, and he says that the one thing he didn't plan on was being happy. And right when he says that, Andrea is there for him. Okay, sorry, I got a little emotional. It's just a really powerful scene. And although eventually, though, Andrea's father made some really bad deals with the mob, and she had to skip town with him. And ultimately, she had to return the ring and tell Bruce that they couldn't get married. And when that happens, Bruce realizes he has nothing left but his vow. And at that moment, he dons the cowl and becomes Batman. Yeah, and so those are pretty much all the flashbacks. In the present day, Andrea returns to town, but just as she returns to town, this new mysterious figure called the Phantasm shows up, and he starts killing off old mob bosses. And right when Batman goes to investigate, Phantasm isn't really caught on any cameras, so Batman is naturally blamed by the public into being a murderer. And one of Gotham's Councilman Reeves, is pretty much leading the anti-Batman campaign and trying to bring Batman to justice. Alright, so yeah, like I said, I do love the animated series, and of course this has my favorite voices for Batman and the Joker, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill respectively. Also, fun fact, Andrea Beaumont is actually voiced by Dana Delaney, who went on to play Lois Lane in Superman the Animated Series. So that's kind of funny, because in the animated series, Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane did date briefly. So again, really funny, real fun connection there. But overall, this is really my favorite animated movie. Because it does connect to the animated series, which I loved. That's one of my favorite cartoon series of all time. And also, Mask of the Phantasm is the only animated film to have a theatrical release since before The Killing Joke. I mean, Killing Joke was brief, but so is this one. But still, that's pretty damn special. And it's also very highly reviewed critically. And I agree, it's a really awesome movie. And I think that any Batman fan, whether you haven't seen the animated series or not, should watch this movie. So those are my choices for my top 5 Batman animated movies. What did you guys think? What are your top 5 Batman animated movies? Do you agree with my list? Do you think I should have moved some things around, like maybe put year 1 in slot number 2, or Under the Red Hood in slot number 5? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you agreed or disagreed with my list. I also have a list made up for my top 5 Superman animated movies. So if you guys want me to make that video, let me know in the comments below as well. If you want me to do more videos like this, for maybe, I don't know, the Justice League animated movies, let me know about that as well. Or just general DC animated movies in general. Again, let me know. I am open to suggestions for some of these top 5 lists. So let me know what you guys want, and I can work on those. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.